Oh, hi you. I didn't see you there. You look good today. Welcome back to Plant Boy. My name is Kade, and I thought today would be a good day to kind of walk through the space again and take a look at all of the different plants I have and kind of do an updated houseplant tour. So if you are all interested, follow me along on this journey and let's dive right into it. All right, everyone, let's start over here. Just a reminder that all of my socials are linked in the description if you would like to engage on other platforms. So I thought it would be fun to take you along the kind of same route, and we can take a look at how things have changed and how things have grown, so on and so forth. This is a pretty good looking Durano Dracaena that I had out on the porch that I recently brought inside. It's doing pretty well, and I just actually repotted it in my last video, if you want to check that out. The neon pothos up here is doing pretty well. Not much to say about that. This is some basil propagations. This is a variety known as mammoth basil that I'm water propagating. And then here we have those snake plant propagations. You can actually see, if we look right in here, there's a little baby coming up. So these guys are acclimating well. Some Chinese money plant or Pilea peperomoides propagations. I'm not sure that this guy was planted in this pot last time we saw each other. However, I put him in this planter. It was like 4 separate 1-inch propagations, and it has just taken off. It's done very well, really filled out. But I will propagate it as time moves along and fill it out more. My black cardinal philodendron is doing really well. It's pushing out some new growth. This larger leaf up here is actually the newest growth. Looks like we had some shipping damage on this leaf over here, but it has since recovered pretty nicely. And then I have my string of hearts over here. It has done pretty well. I actually like it a little more wrapped up. You can see it actually is doing pretty well and pushing out that new growth there at the top. Here at the bottom we have a lot of different vegetables started, fall veggies that I'm going to try to grow before frost hits here in zone 6B. This is some broccoli that I have growing, and then we have beets and rhubarb. I also have bush beans out front that I'll show you later. This is the limelight Dracaena that was in the other room. Brought it back here to try to help it out some. I have to repot this soon. This has been in this pot for over a year now, and I think it is time to grow up. These are some string of dolphin propagations that I had that's looking pretty sad just because it's not very full. I'm going to propagate that more to fill it out. My variegated string of hearts is actually doing very well. It's grown pretty fast actually. I'm going to propagate it as time moves on to fill out that planter. And then I have my watermelon peperomia cuttings that I got off of Reddit, and they are growing up nicely. They look pretty great actually. The new growth is looking pretty good, so we will keep an eye out on that. Hopefully within the year I'll have a nice plant. Some pothos cuttings. The Prince of Orange is doing very well also. You can see where it was battling some larvae. I think it was thrip larvae, but I'm not totally sure. I soaked it in pesticide, neem oil, and dish soap, and it seemed to have fixed the problem. I haven't seen any more larvae on here, but yeah, it's looking pretty good. And then I don't even want to talk about this guy. He's not too happy. Moving right along here, speaking of that thrip larva that was on the Prince of Orange, I actually found it on this baby rubber tree as well as my calathea. I did the same treatment on those and it seemed to fix the problem, but again, we'll see. And calatheas are not the easiest plants to care for, as we all know. I did have some leaves die on this guy, but it is pushing out some new growth. Common problem here, the crispy leaves. Here's Mr. Macaroni. Hi, buddy. Here's my desk. It's a little dirty. I have some classes that started up and I actually study there. We have some snake plants and a ZZ plant. I keep these plants here just for aesthetic reasons, for like a backdrop. So these are all low light tolerant plants because they are a bit further away from a window. And then I just moved this kind of nightstand, I guess, over here with this lantern. I put this strepto something, the tillandsia in there, the air plant. And then the samurai dwarf is peeking out from under there. Snake plant's doing pretty well. And then I just have a monstera cutting without a node. It actually fell off the plant. We'll talk about that then. And then my Adansonii is doing pretty well here. This guy was battling mealybugs. Haven't seen them though, so that's good. And then these are actually the oldest leaves. If we look inside here, you can see that these are, the dying leaves are leaves that are actually in the soil the furthest down on the stem of the plant. So it's not really anything to be concerned about, just the plant taking its energy and putting it elsewhere. This is allegedly a philodendron melanochrysum. It's hard to tell the difference between these and a philodendron micans whenever they're immature. Just a cutting that I recently bought. Hasn't pushed out any new growth yet. I'm just trying to baby it and let it establish. And then my string of pearls. Speaking of mealybugs, I still have not gotten rid of the mealybugs on this. I keep on finding one or two just here or there, so I'll keep you all posted. Moving along, here's the Rhaphidophora tetrasperma. This guy is crazy how fast it grows. I'm gonna have to repot it here soon and stake it up a little bit better, maybe on a moss pole, but we shall see. Here is a cool little area over here that I quite like. We have a golden pothos up here that is climbing up the staircase. I actually just tied it up. And then a Scindapsus exotica here. I did think that this is a pictus, but people informed me that it is an exotica variety due to the broader foliage and more kind of silver pattern on it. And then this is a Monstera borsigiana or a deliciosa. I'm not totally sure yet. It is immature, and as we know, it is harder to tell if certain plants are different plants whenever they're immature. It does look more like a borsigiana to me, just based on its growth pattern, but we will see as time progresses. All right, and here's the front porch. We have a planter here with some begonias, and these are the bush beans that I was talking about earlier. They're doing pretty well. They have some blossoms on them, and a few pods are starting. And then we have a little ancho chili plant. Same thing going on over here, minus the ancho chili. This is the bird of paradise that you may have seen in one of my care guide videos. I recently put it in this terracotta pot to kind of weigh it down because it kept on blowing over out here. We will start over here on the right. So I actually had a pretty big storm come through here recently and demolish a lot of the plants. This was one of them. This actually was in like a rope hanger, and the rope actually rotted through, and the wind actually was the straw that broke the camel's back, I guess we'll say, and the pot fell and shattered, and I didn't have a replacement for the string of bananas until very recently whenever I repotted it yesterday. And it suffered quite a bit. It doesn't look the best, but we will see as time progresses. I'm going to try to baby it and let it establish out here, and then kind of spread it out in the pot then to make it look a little better, but we will see how that goes. Then I got my aloe plant. The Marble Queen Pothos looks freaking awesome. It's definitely very, very happy out here. The repotting of this plant went very well. And note that this is very early morning. It is 8 a.m. right now, so this is morning sun that these plants are getting. They don't mind it because it's not very powerful right now. I would not give these plants any sun during the kind of 10 to 3 hours. Cast iron plant's looking pretty good. The rubber tree's doing very well as always. It got some bird poop on there I gotta wipe off. And then the ruby ficus is looking pretty good as well. I actually just rotated these plants because they were kind of all growing to the side towards the sun. What are you doing? Stop barking. Stop. Here is another baby rubber tree. This is the variegated version. I made a video on leaf burn and what that looks like and what to do about it if you're interested. And this was also growing up to the side, so that's why it's facing that way. I just rotated it yesterday. We got a unit of a sword fern. They always do so great outside on the porch in that high humidity during the summer, and they struggle during the winter, but they survive. We'll start at the top here. Silver dollar vine's doing okay. I took cuttings off of this earlier in the season. I think we have a pest here actually. Yeah, it looks like SOS. Is that maybe a white fly? Anyone that knows? Kind of looks like a white fly to me. This is a Hoya carrii. Don't think it has a node, so it's not going to do anything. This is a variegated Hindu rope. It's doing okay. I've had this problem with Hoyas before, specifically the compacta, where they get kind of crinkly or like wrinkled. I don't know what this problem is. If any of you have any ideas why this kind of wrinkling on the foliage could be happening, please let me know. My Brazil philodendron's looking pretty good. It's just kind of tucked away back here. It was struggling there for a little bit, but it's doing okay now. I think I was letting it dry out too much. Then we have another Hindu rope here. This guy's doing pretty well also. And string of raindrops, I believe. This has been a topic of much debate, whether it was a string of watermelons or string of raindrops or string of hooks or anything like that. But I originally thought that it was a string of watermelons, which I don't believe it is now upon further inspection. But I think it might be a string of raindrops. I don't know. You guys tell me what you think. This Monstera deliciosa is doing pretty great. It actually fell over in that big storm that I had, which is why we saw that like kind of cutting in that other room inside, and it lost some leaves down here, and then it actually started pushing out this new growth pretty rapidly. And I think it looks freaking great. These fenestrations are awesome. This Crimson Queen is looking really great as well. I just love the way that this plant looks. It actually started rooting in this Monstera pot. So maybe I'll take a cutting off of this and plant it somewhere else. I actually got to stake this guy up better. Monsteras are tough to stake up. And then we have this Ficus elastica, this Taniki, that's doing pretty well also. I just repotted this guy yesterday into that terracotta pot because it kept on falling over as well. And then my Spathiphyllum domino is doing pretty well. I don't want to talk about this. And I don't want to talk about these. These money plants, these Chinese money plants or Pollia peperomordius, are kind of always giving me trouble. I'm not really too big of a fan. And then this is some squash. Woohoo! Alright everyone, that was the tour. Nothing too crazy exciting, but I think that it's interesting to kind of look back a month ago and see how things have progressed and changed and grown and suffered. So I hope you enjoyed the content. I will hopefully see you on the next video. Bye guys.